Today, we're digging into something that could totally change the game for artificial intelligence. It's a new AI called AXIOM. And the big question it asks is this: what if an AI could learn new things in just a few minutes instead of months? What if it learned less like a machine and more like us? To really get why that's such a big deal, we first need to talk about a huge, kind of hidden problem at the very heart of modern AI. So here's the paradox, right? We see these AI models doing incredible, superhuman things in games and all sorts of complex tasks. But behind the curtain, there's this dirty secret. They are shockingly slow learners, incredibly inefficient. And this really lays it all out. Standard AI is what we call data hungry. To get good at just one video game, it might need to play millions and millions of times. That's like forcing it to watch a million hours of video. Now, think about you or me. We can watch someone do something just once or twice, and we pretty much get it. We are incredibly data efficient. And this huge gap, it's one of the biggest challenges in AI today. So how do we do it? What's our secret? Well, it turns out our brains come with some built-in shortcuts. Researchers call them core priors. These are basically the fundamental assumptions our brain uses to make sense of the world, right from the get-go. Just think about it for a second. A baby doesn't have to learn from absolute scratch that the world is made of separate things, of objects. It doesn't need to run a million tests to figure out that if you let go of a toy, it's going to fall. We have this intuitive grasp of basic physics and cause and effect. These core priors are the scaffolding that all of our fast learning is built on. Most AIs, they don't have that. They're starting from a totally blank slate every single time. And that, right there, is where AXIOM comes into the picture. AXIOM is a totally new AI architecture that's been designed from the ground up to have these kinds of core priors baked right in. I mean, it's right there in the name, active expanding inference with object-centric models. The whole idea is that it learns by thinking about the world in terms of objects. And taking this object-focused approach leads to some really radical differences. So AXIOM doesn't see just a chaotic soup of pixels. It actually carves the world up into objects. It learns online, which means one frame at a time, so it doesn't need to store millions of past memories in a giant database called a replay buffer. And maybe the most surprising part, it's gradient-free. All that means is it learns without the super slow, computationally heavy process that powers most deep learning today. The result is a model that's not just efficient, but, and this is huge, interpretable. Okay, so how does an AI actually think in terms of objects? Well, AXIOM's secret sauce is this really elegant four-step process that lets it build a little model of its world, piece by piece. It's a really logical flow. First, it just looks at the pixels and groups them into things that look like objects. Step 2, it identifies those objects, basically learning that's the red ball, that's the blue paddle, and it remembers them from one moment to the next. Then, step 3, it starts to model motion. It builds up a library of simple, reusable movements it sees, like falling or bouncing. And finally, the crucial part, it predicts interactions. It puts everything together and learns things like, okay, when the blue paddle hits the red ball will bounce, and I get a point. It's building an intuitive model of the game's physics. Of course, a cool theory is one thing, but you gotta prove it works. So to really put AXIOM to the test, researchers built a brand new benchmark called GameWorld 10K. It's a collection of simple games designed to test one thing and one thing only. How fast can an AI learn? And believe me, the challenge is absolutely brutal. Each AI gets only 10,000 interaction steps to try and master 10 different games. In the world of AI, that's nothing. It's an insanely small amount of practice. It's really the ultimate stress test for data efficiency. So AXIOM was thrown into the ring against two state-of-the-art heavyweights. You've got Dreamer v3, which is a super powerful world model agent, and BBF, one of the best sample-efficient models out there. The stage was set for a real showdown. And the results were just stunning. I mean, look at this. In this game called Explode, you can see AXIOM just crushing it with 180 points. The next best, BBF, is down at 101. And Dreamer v3, the other heavyweight, way down at 35. AXIOM didn't just win here, it absolutely dominated. And no, it wasn't a fluke. Look at this other game, Hunt. AXIOM scores over 200 points. The other two state-of-the-art models, they barely even got on the scoreboard. This is exactly what rapid human-like learning looks like when you see it in action. It's a blowout. But here's the real kicker. AXIOM isn't just a faster learner. It is unbelievably more efficient. Dreamer v3 uses 420 million parameters. Think of that as the size of its brain. AXIOM, it uses at most 1.6 million. That's over 250 times smaller. And it thinks over 12 times faster with every single step. It is doing so much more with so much less. And that brings us to AXIOM's final, and you could argue its most important superpower. We can actually understand it. See, most complex AIs are what we call black boxes. Data goes in, an answer comes out, but we have no clue what just happened in between. AXIOM is totally different. Because it thinks in terms of objects and rules that make sense to us, we can actually peek inside its head and see its reasoning. And this isn't just some theory. The researchers can literally visualize AXIOM's plans. They can see its imagined future, the path it thinks objects are going to take, and see exactly where on the screen it expects to get a reward or get penalized. This is a massive step toward building AI that's not just powerful, but also transparent and trustworthy. So let's zoom out for a second. We've got an AI that learns incredibly fast, is super cheap to run, and whose thoughts we can actually understand. What does all this mean? What are the bigger implications here? Well, AXIOM isn't just one cool model. It's like a roadmap for a whole new kind of AI. AI that's data efficient, so it can learn without needing these planet-sized data sets. AI that's computationally cheap, which means it can run on smaller, less powerful devices, not just giant data centers. An AI that is adaptable and, most importantly, interpretable, so we can actually trust its decisions when the stakes are high. And that brings us all the way back to where we started. AXIOM proves that by giving AI just a tiny spark of the intuitive understanding that we all have, we can unlock some incredible new abilities. And it leaves us with one heck of a question to think about. What really becomes possible when AI starts to learn less like a brute force machine and a lot more like us?